big surprises. This is interesting. Average number of offers, at least 3. Look at all cash. Traditional sales, 25.5% of those transactions in this survey were all cash. REO was 34%. So huge investor presence. And days on the MLS, again, the short sales, it's twice as long as that Kardashian wedding, right? 141. I was very troubled by this slide. This is the question, is the seller going to buy another home? In 04 and 05, over 70% of you said absolutely. In 2010, about 32% of you said yes. It came up last year, so I thought that was positive. And we thought we would ask what was going on. Why isn't the seller planning to? Well, for almost 20% of them, the seller was a lender, so okay. But for everybody else, the answers included, I don't want to have that big of a financial nut on my plate. I don't have good credit. I don't have cash for a down payment. I don't have a job. I love living with my mom and dad again. And I'm waiting for the market to bottom. We do a seller survey every year, so I just thought I'd put this in when the sellers were asked, why were you selling? So about a third of them said, I'm foreclosed, right? I had no choice. Look at all the other answers. The other answers really do look like the way the market used to be. People are moving because their life has changed, right? Their lifestyle, their size of their family, what their needs are, their job, retiring. So that market is still out there. 17% of you said the buyer was an investor. That's the highest we've ever recorded here. And 7% said it was an existing homeowner buying a vacation or second home. And those markets are extremely attractive. And then 6% of you said it was a foreign buyer. Fascinating. The foreign or international component of the California marketplace is growing. I don't think we'll ever look exactly like Miami and parts of Florida, but there are parts of the state where it's very, very active. And you know, we're familiar with the Canadian snowbirds who buy in Palm Springs, right? Or the Pacific Rim families that come into the Bay Area. What's been interesting over the last 6 to 9 months is to hear about the German investors and the German money that's coming in because they're fleeing the Eurozone, right? And they're looking at California real estate as an attractive place to invest their money. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So when you look at our forecast for 2012, it's really indicative of a very slow growing economy in general. And I think you saw that moderation in the national forecast. I think sales are going to tip a little bit above that 502,000 bench, about a 1% increase. We'll have a very modest increase in the median home price, but it's still below that 300,000 kind of threshold for the state. And to be perfectly clear, I think anything that surprises us in 2012, and there are always surprises, is probably not going to be a surprise in the positive direction. And again, the issue that keeps me up at night is the Eurozone, and the fact that I'm hoping that Greece kind of behaves and changes and gets with the program. I'm hoping that they can hold everything together. Obviously, the European Central Bank is doing what our central bank did 3 years ago, but if they can't, it would be devastating. You know, it would be as big or bigger as what we went through 3 years ago. So that would be kind of a game changer, and I'm hoping it's a very small probability that won't be a reality, but I do feel like we need to at least have it on the table. So what's a realtor to do, right? That's the question. What is a realtor to do? Well, I want to give you some suggestions. So we survey buyers and sellers every year. So we're interested in talking to people that actually completed a transaction and find out interesting things about it that we can share with you and maybe help you adjust how you're doing the business. So what we found out last year when we talked to buyers was almost all, 94% of them said they used a realtor. 58% said they found you online. And that doesn't mean the direct marketing and all of the stuff that you do doesn't have an impact. It probably does, but everybody's kind of online, or more people obviously are online than ever before. Over half of the buyers interviewed more than one agent. About half of them Googled you, so you got to Google yourself. I'm sure you all have, and make sure everything there is something you're proud to share. 93% are interested in hearing from you via social media, and that's a huge change from 2010 to 2011. We have really tipped over with respect to social media. 54% said they would work with you again. You may be familiar with surveys that say that the next transaction, the percent of sellers that are working with the same agent again is in the single digits. And I think part of that is because we could probably do a better job of staying in touch with meaningful information. I think that's one thing that I would look at is, how are you doing your customer relationship management? Is it effective? Is it meaningful? Do you stay on top of that? 80% said they would find it useful to have ratings available for agents. So just like, a new restaurant opens up in Berkeley and you go on Yelp and see what people are saying about it, people are going on Yelp to find out what people are saying about realtors. The problem with Yelp and also with Zillow is there's no checks and balances to make sure that the people actually weighing in on you had a transaction with you. So I've been working with CAR Strategic Planning Committee for many years. We're in the midst of a second pilot where we're providing, we're essentially paying the cost for brokerages to provide realtor ratings. And the reality is nobody likes to be rated, right? Do you? No, of course we don't. But it's a reality of the marketplace today. It's what consumers expect. And you might be very surprised to know that, in the great majority of cases, people are thrilled with their realtor. It's like we're always kind of below or right with the car guys on that Harris poll, but it's almost like Congress. People are like down on Congress, but their congressman, awesome, right? So that's what you get. On average, they thought about buying for about 4 months. They spent about 2.5 months looking at specific homes. And then they contacted you. They were with you looking at homes for about 2 months, saw 12 homes, went into escrow. For 3/4 of them, the escrow didn't close on time. 49% were repeat, 51% were first-time buyers. They were motivated by fabulous affordability, and 80% found their home through an agent. So the question is, how did you find the home you purchased? 80% said my agent showed me the home I purchased. 13% said I found the home I purchased on the website myself. So kind of interesting when you go back 4 years, and 4 years ago 90% of the buyers said their agent showed them the home they purchased, and only 7% were on the website. So I think you see the impact of the internet and the knowledge base and the comfort with that people have in terms of finding things on their own. I think part of it may also be the market and market conditions. In 2007, in many areas in California, we were still at the very peak of the market, where you needed to be working with an agent to find a property at all. We asked what websites they used in the home buying process. These are the 10 that were the most frequently mentioned. Note that in addition to Craigslist, which is very big up here, you also have YouTube. 85% of people are visual. They prefer to see it and hear it than read it. And if you've got a YouTube channel, that's terrific. And believe me, it will get more and more traffic as the years go by. Then we asked them to tell us what the most useful website they went to. Every year, Realtor.com's #1. Zillow always seems to have the #2 spot. But note spots 3 and 4. Real estate company website and real estate agent websites. Those websites are very valuable. They're sticky. People go there because they don't just want to know 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. They want to know, what is it like to live here? Right? What is it like? Have have a, a visual tour of the island, and where you go for coffee and where you go, what the community is all about. 44% of the buyers interviewed one agent, but 56 interviewed more than one. In fact, 19% interviewed 8 or more. Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't worry about that. You want to be like the 4th or 5th realtor on their transaction, obviously. All right. We asked the single most important reason that they picked you, and what they said was responsiveness, prior knowledge, first to respond, most aggressive, and most knowledgeable. And aggressive is not in the, it's service. We asked to rate the importance of your response time. 39% said it was important, and 57% said it was extremely important. So if there is one thing that you could do this year to change how you do your business and improve it, reduce your response time. Whatever your average response time is, make it a goal to cut it in half or reduce it by 20% or whatever it is, because all the data that we have shows that it's the one way that you communicate your knowledge, your professionalism, your aggressiveness. It's all about communication, right? 36% of the buyers expect to hear from you instantly. Is that possible? No. So what you want to do is have a dialogue about it before you even get going into the transaction and say, what's your communication style? Do you want to hear from me every day? Do you want to hear from me once a week? Do you want to hear from me as needed? Do you want an email? Do you want a phone call? Just get all that set up right away, and then it'll be a much easier time of it. So that's your buyer side. Let's just look briefly at the sellers. The experience for the sellers was long. Median time listed 28 weeks. For most of them, more than 7 months before opening escrow. Escrow was 1.5 months. 40% had an escrow that closed on time, 60% did not. And 20% of the sellers used electronic signature. You do get a free digital signature from the California Association of Realtors, so that's why we were kind of interested in measuring utilization. I just picked a couple of slides that I thought were particularly interesting. This one is the share of first-time sellers. In 2008, 33% of the sellers were selling their first home. In 2011, it was 48%. So, people that got in 2004, 5, 6 at the peak and lost a job, or values went down in their area. Why'd you sell? So most of the answers here on affordability, income, so on, no surprise. But look at number 4, low prices allowed upgrade. And I think that's one of the stories that's not being told to people today, that this is an amazing opportunity to trade up, if that works for you, just terrific opportunity. 41% of the sellers said it was a short sale, 59% said it was a regular sale. Here's a look at the difference between the list price and the sale price, $385 versus $335. This isn't, you can calculate this data for whatever area that you want. And I think it's great information to bring into a presentation or a discussion where you're talking about what listing price makes sense. And, instead of saying, boy, that's awfully high, you can say, you know what, in Alameda, it's a 5%, this is what the market says. So it's not your opinion, it's you looking at the data and communicating that. NAR reported about a year ago that about 10% of the escrows nationwide did not close escrow. This year it was 30%. And the two major reasons that they reported were the appraisal didn't come in or the loan didn't fund. And I think those are still really challenges in the market. We always ask, where'd you find your agent? And again, you can see that the internet, the website, listing, those tend to be the most frequent responses, but again, it doesn't mean that you can't do or shouldn't be doing traditional marketing, because I